The Eurocup Formula Renault 2 litre makes a trip to Spa-Francorchamps for this weekend for two 25-minute plus one lap races, one tomorrow and one in a moment or two. And we'll run you through the 19-car grid very, very shortly. My name's Johnny Palmer. Welcome along to our coverage here live in Belgium. To my right is Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com. And Lando Norris starts from pole position alongside this man, Dorian Boccolacci, the French driver. A 2:18.325 was Dorian's lap time in qualifying earlier on today, and missed out therefore on pole position by just 26 thousandths of a second. Very, very close at the sharp end of the field. Max Defourny, who slowly but surely is becoming Lando Norris's only competitor in the championship, starts from third place, and Max really needs to win this race to keep his championship aspirations alive. There are 100 points still up for grabs, courtesy of 4 more races remaining. There are no points, remember, for pole positions or fastest lap, so it's kept very simple, purely on the points from the race. And Lando Norris has good form, it's fair to say. He's had 5 races at Spa-Francorchamps in 2016, and he's won 4 of them. And that's in the Formula Renault Northern European Championship and also in the British Formula 3 Championship that was here earlier on this year, Graham, to support the only away day for the British GT Championship. They came to Spa in July, and well, I think you and I, we were really brought to our attention the talent of Lando Norris at that very memorable first race at Red Bull Ring. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a moment, but first of all, let's hear from the pole position man Lando Norris with our man Julien.
Lando, another pole position for you in Eurocup, but that was a very close fight. Tell us about your feeling inside the car.
Well, yeah, I mean, quality was pole, and that's always the best way to come out. Maybe it's not the best thing because of the run down to turn 1 or turn 3. It's pretty long, and there's going to be a lot of slipstreaming, so it's probably going to be quite difficult to hold on to the lead. But I'll do my best and see how it goes. But yeah, I mean, I felt confident today. All weekend I haven't felt amazing. I mean, I was quite surprised I had pole. It didn't feel like a great lap. I didn't feel like I did a great job for some reason. But yeah, it was pole, and I have to be happy with that.
Lando, you can wrap up the title this weekend. Does it affect your mindset entering the penultimate round of the season?
Not too much. Not obviously, it's always in the back of your head. But I think when you're racing, you don't really think about it. Obviously, I got to beat one person mainly, which is Max. But I still want to win, and that's my aim. So I'll do my best to get that result. And if it's a second or a third, I'm still happy. It's still good points. And yeah, I know for sure I'm not the strongest here, as in speed-wise. Obviously, I did a good lap then, which I was quite surprised by. But I'll do my best to hold on.
Thank you very much, Lando. Have a good one.
Julien Biot there with the questions to Lando Norris, who starts from pole position, as I say, and enjoys this lead of 39.5 points. Lando comes to Spa with 202, Max Defourny on 162.5 because of that strange old race at Monaco, which was run in the wet, and it didn't get to the sufficient distance for full points to be awarded. Harrison Scott third in the championship on 148 points, and Dorian Boccolacci starts from second position in this race. He's on 133. Graham, I've had several attempts at bringing you in.
That's
can
right.
now properly do
fine.
that.
That's just a quick shot there. Will Palmer, 4th on the grid, 9th in the championship. And it's been a topsy-turvy year for Will. His father, Jonathan Palmer, has been used this week with a bid for Silverstone Circuits from his MSV concern.
There is Sasha Fenestras, who starts from 5th position. And the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice that the grid for this race is after La Source, instead of where the Formula 1 event starts, which is just before La Source, of course, the more traditional start-finish line, if you like, just beyond the bend in the background from this shot. Here is the Belgian driver, so at his home race, Max Defourny. His father was once the promoter of the Belgian Grand Prix. Second generation racer, therefore, Didier Defourny, Max's father. And Max gets the high five from his crew. He needs somehow to get ahead of both Boccolacci clearly, but also Lando Norris at some point over the next 25 minutes and an extra lap. That is easier said than done.
That is Dario Boccolacci, second on the grid for the championship. And, well, Lando Norris is going to have a snarling, snapping pack, isn't he, behind him, needing to take points out of the young Briton to keep this championship rolling along, because he has been pretty dominant on and off, not in every race. Here he is.
Yep. But very interesting to hear his interview, though, with Julian a few moments ago, just to say, I didn't really feel like that lap was particularly special, and for whatever reason, he feels like he's perhaps not fully at it this weekend. A race win will surely cure that, but sometimes racing drivers just don't feel their car is in the sweet spot, and it's a strange situation where you can have a car that's behaving like that, according to Lando Norris, and still bag pole position.
Well, certainly he's going to need to be on his game, because what we've learned from the races this season is any sign of weakness and you'll be pounced upon. It won't be one position or a tenth of a second. You'll find yourself flailing, and Lando Norris is going to have to be absolutely on it here. And turn one, of course, will be Eau Rouge.
Absolutely, yes. So you better hope you've got a good start. Downhill does help, no doubt, as you let it off the brakes and pommel that right pedal, but you need to get the car set up and hope you're not alongside somebody for that first run into Eau Rouge and Raidillon. The green flag is waved at the front of the field then, and this is a lone formation lap for these cars to get up to temperature. The drivers will be working hard to weave left and right to get particularly the front tyres, I suppose, up to temperature. Rear should be relatively easy there. The driven wheels, these cars incredibly light and powered by the 1.6 litre engine, and 2 litre engine rather, and therefore the power to weight ratio of these cars phenomenally impressive. Lando Norris then with another pole position at 2:18.299, but it was so close between he and Dorian Boccolacci. Max Defourny starts from third position, and we will keep our eyes, of course, further up and down the order to see how well other drivers do.
Conditions just perfect here, no chance of rain, certainly for this race. 20 degrees in the air, 28 degrees on track, and, well, all too often racing at Spa, enlivened sometimes by, well, we'll call it weather.
Yes.
Chaos of the meteorological variety, but not going to happen this weekend. What a fantastic view across the Ardennes there, with the pit building in the background. As cars make their way around at some speed back to the grid, and we'll get underway.
So Will Palmer to start alongside Max Defourny. Sacha Fenestraz we caught a glimpse of on the start line there before the green flag got underway. He starts from 5th position ahead of Hugo Datalia. Harrison Scott, who has won races this year, not such a great qualifying though earlier on today, to start from 7th. Jehan Daruvala, who maybe, arguably, has broken away now from the leading pack in the championship. It's 4 drivers, and then Jehan Daruvala, I think, is still 5th in the standings. He's now 6th, I beg your pardon, having dropped behind Sacha Fenestraz at the last round. So Daruvala, a couple of races to forget at Paul Ricard for the Indian driver. Robert Schwartzman is next in the championship ahead of Ferdinand Habsburg, Will Palmer and Gabriel Aubry. So the cars run by Tech 1 in their familiar orange and black livery, working their way now through Blanchimont corner. There is a Tech 1 car that starts from 2nd position, Dorian Boccolacci alongside Lando Norris. Max Defourny is in the blue and white car, and then it's the red and white livery of Will Palmer. Good qualifying session for him, certainly.
These young drivers, just before the cars gridded, had the opportunity to see what might await them in a few years' time. With Nicolas Latifi actually out and doing quick laps aboard, I think it was a 2012 Renault Formula 1 car. And we were treated to the very unusual sight of him doing donuts down at Les Combes, but then coming back at speed the wrong way down the Kimmel Straight and down Eau Rouge before going back into the paddock.
Yes, Eau Rouge, one of those corners which is frightening whichever way you attack it. Clearly, he'd had the go-ahead to do that, though. You don't all of a sudden want to meet oncoming traffic down the Kemmel Straight.
And that was indeed the last way that was run as in public service. When this was still a public road, it was downhill you came.
Well, it's downhill for these drivers at the head of the order. Remember, starting further round from the European Le Mans Series grid, the World Endurance Championship grid as well, when those cars were here back in May. Ferdinand Habsburg in the number 62 car crawls to a halt there. Austrian driver starting from 14th position. He's got Bruno Baptista alongside and Julien Falcaro in 16th position, but we'll concentrate on a jump start surely for Max Defourny. Now, he just got to a point there where he needed to just hammer it, and unfortunately he's going to have to take a penalty later on in this race. I'm almost positive of that, with now down to second place, let's call it as we see it, Lando Norris. Will Palmer's got a great run from Dorian Boccolacci then, so Will Palmer from 4th to now 3rd, and that should be second place. And Will Palmer's got a great run on Lando Norris down the Kemmel Straight. They're all fanning out in classic single-seater action. Down towards Les Combes they go, and Lando Norris trying to go around the outside. There's contact between Norris and the front wing of Will Palmer, and that looks to have damaged Will more so than Lando. But clearly for the championship protagonist, there will be concern now about that rear tyre, Graham.
Indeed, that was pretty heavy contact. The rear right of Lando Norris to the front left of Will Palmer, who with half his front nose now missing, is dropping back just a little. He's lost 2 places through that, is about to lose more as they come down towards Podium for the first time. No news yet of a jump start there.
No.
So was it just absolutely on the trigger, or is race control just checking this out? Wide there. I think that would have been Will, not got the ultimate grip, and someone else further back down the order running wide as well.
Memories there of a certain Messrs Rosberg and Hamilton as they made contact at Les Combes in a couple of Grand Prix ago. Was that 15 or 14? I forget now. But it does all concertina up there into Les Combes corner after that long run down the Kemmel Straight. And Will Palmer will surely have to pit at the end of this lap, missing that front left portion of his wing. Defourny is going to lead the first lap after a questionable getaway.
Under investigation now, I'm hearing.
He, to my mind, moved before everybody else, so unless he's got incredible human reaction, I expect that Max Defourny will have to take, under investigation for a jump start, the number 33 car. Side by side, Jehan Deruvala starts to lose places then into the chicane. Not quite at the end of the lap, remember. Over the line then, in a moment or two, they will go. And into the final corner of the lap on this configuration. More bits of bodywork falling off cars, no doubt as a result of contact. The purple and white car, by the way, is Gabriel Aubry trying to gain some ground on Jehan Deruvala up ahead, and he's got one of the SMP cars right behind. I think that's Robert Schwartzman. No, it's not. It's Nikita Troitsky in the number 17 car.
Will Palmer has not pitted. He's carried on through for another lap, so whether or not that's the crew mobilising for a quick change, but he's dropped to the back of the field now. He pits now, in fact, sorry, apologies. He pits now.
Yeah, the pit lane entry for the Renaults is just after the source, so slightly different position than the prototypes this weekend. Again, very busy part of the track, and they're all going to get through. Certainly not single file, with one of the AVF cars battling away there with Jehan Deruvala again, and that was Harrison Scott trying to gain a spot in the number 22 car. Didn't quite manage it.
Datalia ahead of Norris, up in the second position.
So he is. So Datalia from Lando Norris, the number 10 car, on a charge here.
Let's keep an eye on Lando Norris's pace. That was pretty heavy contact. I think he'd be lucky if he didn't come away with some tyre damage from that.
And that might not become evident until later on in the race. Of course, it's a reasonably long race for a single-seater affair, 25 minutes plus the lap. So you're looking at nearer a 28-minute race. And there is Harrison Scott with right behind him James Allen, the Aussie. Robert Schwartzman just behind him. Schwartzman is one of the rookie drivers in his first year of Eurocup Formula Renault 2 litre. 5th position in the rookies, leading that class Lando Norris. Strangely enough, although he is a very experienced driver from his days in karting and winning the MSA Formula category in the UK last year, this is his first venture into Formula Renault, so strictly a rookie and running 3rd place at the moment.
And that's it's going to be game over for Will Palmer, sadly.
There is exactly what happened. Contact between Will's front left wing and the rear of Lando Norris. And was there then more contact later on in the lap? No, this is a car running wide at Piff Path.
They got a little bit busy on the entry to Piff Path.
Julian Falqueiro, I reckon, going through Fania corner on not the prescribed line. Down into La Source. Harrison Scott battling away with James Allen there, and Allen nearly got the overlay. Well, in fact, he did. He had the outside line, but Harrison Scott was able to fend him off. Ferdinand Habsburg starting to shake these two up as well for a potential move. Hugo Datalia, though, running in second at the moment. There is a drive-through penalty now for Max Defourny because of that jump start, so it's been reviewed and a penalty has been issued to the race leader, Max Defourny.
That, Johnny, is going to mean that Hugo Datalia leads this race from 6th on the grid. That's a fantastic start from the man in the number 10 car.
Yeah, 2:20.4 is his last lap around, and the best lap of the race so far. We've only had, of course, one flying lap, so there is opportunity yet for other people to go quicker than that, but there's not a point on offer for fastest lap, so just need to concentrate on where the cars finish in the order. And to be honest, Lando Norris will be reasonably happy to allow the win to go to Hugo Datalia. Yes, he won't get the full 25, but Datalia is not one of his championship rivals. He'll be pleased, although probably wouldn't have liked to have had it in that way, but he'll be pleased to hear Max Defourny will get this drive-through penalty, which will take him well out of the mixture.
So current leader on track, number 33, Max Defourny, having jumped the start, is going to suffer the drive-through penalty. That will put Hugo Datalia into the lead, ahead of Lando Norris, who had that brush with Will Palmer. Palmer looks to be out of the race. The team have walked away from the car, as has Will.
Dorian Boccolacci, who started second, running 4th at the moment. That will be 3rd as soon as Max takes his drive through. Gabriel Aubry is in 5th position. Sacha Fenestraz slipping to 6th. Then it's Alexander Corneve, Jahan Daruvala, James Allen, who's now got ahead of Harrison Scott. So that positional change for 9th place has happened, and the Aussie is now ahead of the Brit.
Having a very, very good run, James Allen. Around the outside at the moment for the number 11. That is Fenestraz trying to get around Aubry, doesn't manage to do it there, doesn't get the prescribed line through. They come to the end of the lap, tucks in behind on the run down again to La Source. And we'll look to see whether or not there's an outbreaking opportunity into that corner, but his rival is fully well aware what the plan is.
Late on the brakes there was Sacha Fenestraz, needed to be careful. He was going to get the car stopped though, the door was open, but it was a question of when Gabriel Aubry was going to turn in.
Fastest lap of the race, meanwhile, goes to Boccolacci, and he's now right on terms with Lando Norris.
Defourny, by the way, has stayed out, so doesn't yet take the penalty. Again, overlapping between the 11 car of Fenestraz and Gabriel Aubry. Aubry sensibly kicking his purple. Oh, he's through. Wow, that was even before the braking point at Les Combes, and the 11 car getting a much better exit out of Raidillon. A little bit of a tow, no doubt, from Aubry's car, and the position has changed for 5th place.
Big lock up there for the number 21 car. Hugo Chavez, though, keeps his position.
Now James Allen trying to set his sights on Jahan Daruvala, but of course Allen needs to be wary of where Harrison Scott is in his mirrors. The blue, red and white car behind is Alexander Corneve. Sorry, no, it's Robert Schwartzman rather, with Corneve, his teammate, a bit further up the road. Ferdinand Habsburg is in 12th position. There has been quite a bit of shuffling taking place for 8th place down to, well, 12th, 13th spot. So this 5-car train thunders its way out of Pouhon corner. There's another great gaggle of cars in the distance there as well. The AVF car with the yellow door mirrors, a bit of a lock up there for Henrique Chavez, I reckon, with Bruno Baptista right behind. Nikita Troitsky's in there, Alessandro Perullo and Gislan Cordial all involved, but more tyre smoke coming off the front of Henrique Chavez's car, the number 21 machine.
Yes, apologies for confusing Henrique with the deposed leader of Venezuela there briefly, but Henrique it is.
Side by side then for this fight, which is 12th position. And Chavez able to defend through Blanchimont, but cars all over the curb there and have to tuck back into line.
Change for 3rd position. Boccolacci is through on Lando Norris, and there's trouble over there on the left-hand side, a car off to the left.
Yeah, that was another AVF car, so that's Harrison Scott. Harrison Scott crawling to a halt, as you say, on the inside of the chicane. He's now found a gear, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the number 22 car going to the pit, and this is Max Defourny's opportunity now to take the drive through. So we will have a new leader in the form of Hugo Datalia. Not seeing these pictures, but Max Defourny heads down pit road to take his drive through. Hugo Datalia now leads the race from Dorian Boccolacci and Lando Norris. So 2 Tech 1 cars are now up ahead of him. Meanwhile, this is Henrik Chavs scrapping away with the 21 car of, the 6 car of Bruno Baptista and Julian Falqueiro as well. So this is a fight further down the order. Harrison Scott has made it back to the pits, but he crawls to a halt by the team, shakes his head, not happy with that at all. And the 22 car clearly with a problem. Looks like they're going to change the nose.
Lost the wing end plate on the right-hand side. The front wing end plate has gone on the right-hand side of Harrison's car.
Briefly caught a shot of that, as you saw. But we're focused on this fight involving Chavs, the Portuguese driver, ahead of Bruno Baptista in the dark car. There's one of the SMP racing machines off as well at turn 7. So yellow flags currently covering that.
I'm sensing that Lando Norris, by the way, has a problem here.
And was that Schwartzman or Nikita Troitsky going straight on at the end of Le Combe, that was? Yeah. Sorry, the approach to Bruxelles.
It's
no, it is Le Combe.
It's Schwartzman, who's already slow through sector 1.
Yeah, you're right. So Schwartzman in the gravel at between Le Combe and Bruxelles hairpin. Looks like Harrison Scott is about to rejoin, but you sense Lando Norris has got a bit of a problem, or maybe he's nursing this to the finish. If he finishes on the podium, that's still very good points. You get 15 points for a 3rd place, and of course Max Defourny has now rejoined in what? 15th position after his jump start drive through.
Pretty certain, by the way, Schwartzman there was dead stick. Didn't run off into the gravel. He drove off. So he was taking that car on. One of the cars going across the infield there. And did he take advantage?
That was Bruno Baptista, I reckon, for 10th position, and he has taken advantage because that's an absolute best sector 3 time, because he cut the chicane short. And there is Schwartzman's car, as you can see, off the track and in no hurry to rejoin. So you may well be right that was an issue with the car rather than outbraking himself. Here's the race leader then, Hugo Datalia, with teammate behind him Dorian Boccolacci, and then Lando Norris in 3rd position. Quite a gap back to Sacha Fenestraz.
And all of a sudden, Lando Norris has found some pace, a full second quicker last time after, of course, the lap where he lost the position to Boccolacci. 10 from 9 from 2, Datalia, Boccolacci and Norris. Then the 3-second gap Johnny described back to Fenestraz, who's running in close proximity to Aubrey. They're the top 5. The race for the win here is far from done. 1.2 seconds the gap between the top 3 the last time came through the first sector on their lap 6. But Boccolacci at the moment does seem to have good pace underneath him in the number 9 car.
And of course this is looking like a fabulous result for Tech 1 Racing. They have 3 of their cars in the top 4, 1st, 2nd and 4th, and it's Yusuf Kaufman for Lando Norris. And that car, the red and white machine, now just working its way through the right-hander at Campus and Curve Paul Frere. Is this more issues for Bruno Baptista? No, it's the car ahead of Henrik Chavs running wide at Campus corner and in fact allowing Baptista through. So where does that leave Chavs? From something like 10th position, he's slipped to 13th. Feeds back in just ahead of Ghislain Cordial. Sacha Fenestraz, though, the 3rd of the Tech 1 Racing cars, now running in 4th ahead of Gabriel Aubry, who is having a great race. That's what happened to Robert Schwartzman a little while ago. Still got 11 minutes plus a lap to go in this race.
Should say, by the way, Max Defourny rejoined the race down in 15th position. He's lapping. Well, we'll soon see at the end of this lap what his pace is like, but he's got a long way to come back and not a lot of time to do it. 11 minutes plus that lap left. Sadly, Boccolacci and Norris. 3. Last time around it was Norris to close the gap. He's now looking for a way by the second place man as they come down the Kemmel Straight. Defence going on there, a bit of weaving. Takes the outside line. The run down to Les Combes. Is there room there to do that? Get this done? There isn't. And that's where the incident earlier on happened with Will Palmer.
Yep, he was briefly alongside at the end of the Kemmel Straight, but not enough as they reached Les Combes to duke it out with Boccolacci. More defending necessary here for Nikita Troitsky, who's just got ahead of Bruno Baptista, and Baptista immediately trying to fight back with 10 minutes to go.
Asked what kind of pace Max Defourny had in the car, the answer is quite a lot. He's the first man under 220, so he fights back. Still 15th position, but looking to make up places.
Also involved in this fight for 10th position, Alessandro Perullo, a true privateer team. It's his uncle that funds the initiative. They arrive with one articulated lorry, a loan car, and it's a real family affair. But Perullo having one of his best races of the year.
Crucially, though, a fabulous coffee machine.
Yes,
which is a staple part of any Italian team.
Yes,
without which there is 0 point actually going motor racing.
Yeah, I was treated to an espresso when we were in Austria and made to feel very, very welcome indeed. But it is good to see that a smallish outfit can certainly take it to the larger Fortec crew and Tech 1 Racing. But of course, a team that runs 2, 3, 4 cars already with an advantage because there's so much more data pouring in at the end of a race. Through the chicane and up towards La Source corner, which on this configuration of the Spa-Francorchamps circuit is the final corner of the lap. And 3 cars absolutely together here. Now this is a recovering Max Defourny trying to overlap 2 cars, and can he thread the eye of a needle? He can, from left side of the circuit to the right side of the circuit, and makes quick work of both Perullo and Henrique Chavs there. Max Defourny on an absolute charge, just trying to rescue as many points as he can, knowing that Lando Norris, who led by 39.5 points coming into this race, is running 3rd behind the 2 Tech 1 Racing cars. Of course, had it been Max leading the race and Lando in 3rd, that would have been an awful lot of points clawed back. He must be kicking himself in the cockpit of that number 33 car.
That's what nerves can do for you at this crucial stage of a championship run. It's 8 minutes to go, with Max Defourny back up to 13th position. He is 21 points back from the lead. More importantly, from 10th position, and Troitsky, it's just 3 seconds, so he's got time to get back and get points. He is, however, if Lando Norris finishes this race, and Lando's pace seems to be back to where it was, he's going to lose ground again to the championship leader.
A couple of cars have clearly clashed towards the end of the lap, cars 22 and 3, so Harrison Scott, that might explain why that car was left at the chicane, and Robert Schwartzman, okay. So perhaps that happened earlier on in the lap. The 22 and the 3 car will be investigated after the race. A message on our screen, an incident involving those 2 cars. There's been a place change there because Ferdinand Habsburg has got ahead of Johan de Reuveler, so that will give the Austrian driver 7th position.
Yep,
quite
James
right.
Allen, meanwhile, is up to 6th position now.
Yeah.
That's a great run from him. Has not been anywhere near that pace in the last couple of races.
Seems not, no, but thoroughly nice chap when you speak to him, and keen to make his mark in Europe, but yeah, getting more and more used to these cars. Raced in this category last year, so not a rookie. And that place change for Habsburg is now confirmed as those cars reach the end of Sector 2. The leaders are already at Blanchimont, though. This is lap 8. And the Tech 1 Racing car with the yellow mirrors leads the way. That is Hugo Datalia.
And that battle for second place between Boccolacci and Norris has allowed Datalia just a little bit of an edge.
Henrique Chavez under pressure here by the Russian driver Alexander Kornev, surely not right round the outside of Blanchimont. He needed to take quite a bit of extra track there to get the move done. Later on the brakes is Kornev, and Chavez has to concede and also has to cover off Alessandro Perullo, who is loitering with a bit of intent there. But Perullo shown the gearbox of Chavez' car and has to tuck back into line. Over the top of Eau Rouge, through Raidillon go the top 3. They've really broken away now from Sacha Fenestras, who only appears onto the Kemmel Straight now. But Fenestras has this tidy margin over the battling Gabriel Aubry and James Allen. And Allen still with a chance to gain another spot before this is done.
And looking like he could well do it. He's right with Aubry.
Yeah, and those two cars were nose to tail at the start of the Kemmel Straight, and James Allen able to find half a second on that run through Raidillon. So we'll wait to see whether there's been a place change there. Two abreast through Eau Rouge is always going to be brave, and that's Enrique Chavs trying to get a place back. No, he's battling still with Alessandro Perullo, isn't he? And the Italian did manage to get the overlap. So 5 minutes to go. And plus the lap, remember, and here are the leaders, Graham.
That was a little bit track limits light, wasn't it, of that move up through Eau Rouge and into Raidillon. But this leading trio closing up again, back to 1.2 seconds between the top three.
8 laps done, and probably got about another 4 or 5 still to go. Lando Norris looks like he's reasonably happy with third position. 15 points you get for that. He will extend his margin over Max Defourny. Harrison Scott out of the race. Dorian Boccolacci is ahead of him, but he was fourth in line coming to Spa, so it's not a big disaster to concede only 3 points to Dorian Boccolacci.
Absolutely.
First, second and third coming towards the end of the lap, heading into the bus stop chicane now, and Lando Norris looked to be a quicker line actually through that right and left sequence of corners for the Bristolian, but then everything opens up again as they accelerate out of the chicane and down towards La Source. Here's Jehan Derouvela, and in fact is that Perullo battling away with Baptista
and Perullo, that's right, it's for 11th position.
So the 6 car looks very much like the 1, I have to say, but the 6 car is in 11th position ahead of Perullo in the 35 machine, 12th. And Perullo late on the brakes, can he get the position? Bruno Baptista are fully locked up front right corner, and Perullo top marks there through the inside at La Source corner.
Very neat and tidy, but not giving up the position. And into the wall! Did that make contact with the wall?
I don't think
there?
it did, you know. I think it was closed, but Baptista's still got his foot in, even if he has got a front right buckled, but it still looks pretty good. And right over the curbs there goes Perullo.
Damage to the car.
And Baptista weaving from left to right just to see whether he's got anything broken on his car. I'm still not convinced whether Bruno Baptista made contact with the concrete. I think it was Baptista making contact with Perullo, so car on car rather than car on wall, which could have ended in real disaster, and that's a real shame for Alessandro Perullo. Overly defensive, you could argue, on Baptista out of La Source corner, but a fabulous move to take the place, and sadly for Alessandro, it's going to be retirement in this latest round of the Eurocup Formula Renault 2 litre. 2 minutes and 40 seconds plus a lap to go for Hugo Datalia, Dorian Boccolacci and Lando Norris. The 3 cars in your frame right now. There are yellow flags, by the way, covering that incident involving Perullo and involving Baptista, who I think has continued. Yes, although he's lost a place now to Max Defourny.
Well, the final bit of damage, it was already, the car was already carrying damage, but was over the curbs through Raidillon.
Yes.
I think that was the final nail in the coffin for that effort.
But the leaders are now heading through Blanchimont. 2 minutes on the clock. This is lap 10, and it's taking them 2 minutes and 20 to get around. So it'll be end of this lap and then 2 more. Damage on the nose of the number 21 car of Enrique Chavs, sadly.
That's out of the race. Max Defourny, by the way, has made his way up to 11th position, but I fear will go no further than that up the order. The gap there, unless something dramatic, what am I saying, happens, a little too large. But all of a sudden, Lando Norris back on the tail of the second place car, having dropped back just a little of the last lap. He's gathered his thoughts.
But a 2:20.7 has given some breathing space again to Swiss driver Hugo Datalia, who's really impressing me today.
Now, is he close enough to have a bit of a look here into Les Combes? I think he might be.
Weaving from left to right, he's only going to be shown the outside line. He can get the outside line, but he's not far enough alongside there. Lando Norris, try as he might, just couldn't get the front wheels level with Dorian Boccolacci's front wheels.
That's a smart move from Lando Norris. Don't take the percentage move at this point in a championship run. He could have actually just made that an issue, decided against it. I think that's smart here. There will be other opportunities. 30 seconds now left on the clock, plus that lap.
69 points is the difference between Lando Norris and Dorian Boccolacci, though. So in 69 points, as we said, to let 3 slip is not a big problem. And Lando Norris will try again, I'm sure, at the end of the Kemmel Straight. But as you say, it's a percentage game.
But to throw away 15 would have been...
precisely.
Indeed, potentially.
Which is what he's got heading his way should he finish this race in 3rd position. 15 points for 3rd, 18 points for 2nd, 25 for the win, and Hugo Datalia is up the road and gone now, thoroughly enjoying himself at the head of the order. Hugo Datalia, his best result to date this season was a 4th place finish at Monza, so never been on the podium, Hugo Datalia.
And as we've seen so often, wonder if this will unlock something more from the youngster. Because all too often we see it in this sport, don't we? A lot of it is in the head. If actually all of a sudden you find success, just that 10th here, that half a second there, all of a sudden is unlocked by racing success. Here comes Lando Norris again, crosses the line within 3/10 of Boccolacci, has just feints down it up into La Source. Not going to be fooled by that one, but he will be setting up for what is now the last lap, to see whether or not there's an opportunity, a better opportunity, into Les Combes next time, or even up through Rouge and into Raidillon. Not close enough for that.
I thought Boccolacci was a little bit ragged through the final chicane there, and Lando Norris certainly did close, but there was no opportunity to pass at La Source. Let's have a look on the Kemmel Straight then. Boccolacci this time to driver's left, so Lando Norris, you would have to think, maybe thinks about a move up the inside. He feints towards driver's right, but no, too far back and too much to lose on this final lap of the race.
As we're watching these 3 battling away, by the way, Bruno Battista didn't get away scot-free from that incident. He actually is retired in the pits as well. A move there, that's 7. At the inside, no, is they going to hold that one? There's no contact. Well done, well held. Little bit of track limits.
Yeah, Troitsky on Johan Daruvala. And Daruvala sensibly sticking with Nikita Troitsky to try and repay the favour at Bruxelles corner. So this is for 8th position. And Nikita Troitsky with a well-timed manoeuvre at Les Combes. Yes, running a little bit wide on the exit, as he does, in fact, out of Speaker's corner as well. And this is that move again for Nikita Troitsky. Didn't look like it was done until that point, and actually Johan Daruvala backing out of it a little bit. Thought he had an opportunity again to get alongside the Russian driver, but the next corner was a right-hander, and that means that Troitsky holds on or gains the place over Indian driver Johan Daruvala.
Very good move from Troitsky there. It requires real commitment through that little sequence of corners. But on the last lap, this is the lead 3, and have been since the enforced trip down pit lane for Max Defourny. Stays 11th, by the way, and will not improve from there after that jump start. But it's been an impressive run from Hugo Datalia from 6th on the grid.
Very much so. Lando Norris, very different line indeed through that chicane. The checkered flag, though, is going to be waved for the first time this year on Hugo Datalia, who is thoroughly happy with that. First time on the podium, in fact, for the Swiss driver. 2nd position, Dorian Boccolacci from 2nd on the grid. And Lando Norris started from pole position but comes home in 3rd place. But when you consider where his other championship rivals are, that is a job well done. 15 points go his way, 18 points the way of Dorian Boccolacci, but Max Defourny finishing in 11th scores nothing, and Harrison Scott, a retirement, scores nothing. So that's really opened up the championship, and Lando Norris now will have 227 points at the end of that race. Congratulations to Tech 1 Racing, with 3 of their cars making the top 4. Datalia, Boccolacci and Sacha Fenestraz, who is home as the 2nd best placed rookie, and 4th place in the race. James Allen, a great drive from the Aussie driver as well. 5th position for James, and sorry, 2:17 is the gap.
No, 2:17 is what he'll have. He'll have 15 points over the
15
202.
points. I was adding 25. You're quite right.
So that really is, that's a very significant result for the championship.
Yep. No, agreed. 2:17 is not what Lando Norris goes on to, and we give Dorian Boccolacci 18 points, which puts him on 143, 151. I make it.
But crucially, what that therefore means is that that's a 15-point net gain in the championship lead, because nobody is going to overhaul the current second place driver, Max Defourny.
So Datalia into very, very happy team arms there, and all three Tech 1 drivers are so happy with that result, as you can see. First, second and fourth for Tech 1 Racing. Yusuf Kaufman Racing get Lando Norris to third position, and congratulations to James Allen as well, with a blisteringly quick drive there to finish in fifth position for James Allen. Sixth place to Gabriel Aubry, and let's confirm the other places as well. It's a 54.5 point lead, by the way, then
For Lando
Norris over Max Defourny. And 12 laps done. Hugo Datalia, the winner, from Dorian Boccolacci, Lando Norris and Sacha Fenestras. James Allen to fifth. Gabriel Aubry finishes sixth ahead of Ferdinand Habsburg. A great drive from him too. Nikita Troitsky eighth. Jahan Daruvula in ninth, and Julian Falqueiro finished 10th. No points, sadly, for Max Defourny after that jump start for Air-Ace GP. He finishes 11th ahead of Alexis Corneve, Ghislain Cordial, the wild card entered machine. And 14th position was, well, Harrison Scott. But a troubled race for the young man from Chelmsford. He finished ahead of Bruno Baptista. And Robert Schwartzman's car is being recovered from where it left the track at Les Combes.
That was after an incident, we believe, with Harrison Scott.
And unfortunately, after a really good run for Alessandro Perullo, his car will also need to be stretched back to the paddock on the back of a flatbed, and that was after an incident out of La Source corner. But Julien has worked very, very hard to get Hugo Datalia in front of a camera. Let's hear from him now.
Hugo's stunning drive to claim your maiden win in the Eurocup. Tell us about this feeling.
Well, I've always been strong at starts, and today it really paid off. I managed to improve my qualifying quite a bit in the last two rounds, and today we went for a low downforce setup, and it really paid off, especially on the first lap where I overtook 3 cars. Yeah, so I'm really happy about that, and overjoyed for my first win.
Did you see what happened with Max at the start? Were you informed by your team quite quickly?
I had seen that he jumped the start. I wasn't sure if he was going to get the penalty for it, but my team radioed me and told me that he was going to get a penalty. So I cruised behind him, tried to make the biggest, close in the gap as much as I could, and I can't thank the team and my sponsors enough.
We'll let you enjoy the podium then. Thank you so much, Hugo.
Julien Biot there talking to Hugo Datalia after a wonderful result for Tech 1 Racing, and of course the Swiss driver himself. He'll head to the podium.
And a great run from him, and it is always a pleasure, isn't it, to observe at reasonably close quarters the first victory in any major championship for a young driver. That's what you've seen if you've been watching us for the last 25 minutes or so. Hugo Datalia scores his first 25-point haul of this season in the Formula Renault Eurocup.
Yep.
And that's what it feels like. Yeah, deep breath, thumbs up. Yes, you really did do it.
It's going to be a sort of pensive last couple of laps, but he had enough of a lead, I think, over Dorian Boccolacci, who had his hands full with Lando Norris right on his tail. And Lando, to be fair, did not let up. There was no hint of him easing his way to third position and settling for that position. He was fighting till the very last corner. But congratulations to Dorian Boccolacci as well. Hasn't won a race so far this year, but second place comes close to it. And Tech 1 Racing will be very happy to get a third car into the top four. As I say, the champagne bottles are sat waiting just in front of the podium, and there'll be trophies to be presented in a moment as well. There is Lando Norris then stepping onto the third step of the podium. Remember, at every single race meeting, bar Monaco, Lando has taken a win. So previous form should say that Lando Norris will win the second race tomorrow. We'll have to wait and see. There's Dorian Boccolacci, second place for him, but it will be a win for Hugo Datalia, who now heads to the top step of the podium. And a hop, skip and a jump to the top step. We will hear the national anthem of the winning driver ahead of the trophy presentations. There's also a team representative from Tech 1 Racing to join those three drivers.
A very happy team representative from Tech 1. That long drive home seems so much shorter when you're carrying the trophies, doesn't it?
Here's the national anthem. Congratulations to Hugo Datalia, with the finger held aloft to signify #1. Finally, it's been a long wait all year for Hugo, but now, first of all, trophy to be presented to Lando Norris for third position, a handshake also for the race winner. The second place trophy, these are all very smart BRM sponsored trophies.
Well, Lando might not be as pleased as he could be with the third place rather than the first. He'll feel a whole lot better when he looks at the points after this race.
But of course, not only is it 15 points gain, but it's also only 75 points now up for grabs for his rivals. So the opportunity for those chaps to score gets less and less, quite obviously, with each race.
And if this race result was repeated in the second race, that would be it. That's how close he is.
Yeah.
If there's a problem for the guys chasing him.
Yeah, we'd have to hope for problems for, as you say, the other two. But to finish behind Dorian Boccolacci by a single spot will be okay for his championship. Three drivers to the top step of the podium, together with the Tech 1 team representative. Big smile from Hugo Datalia. Finally, the monkey's off his back as far as that first victory is concerned, and all the mickey taking, no doubt, from the Tech 1 Racing crew. When are you going to win a race then? Well, he's finally done it, and there's one more opportunity tomorrow here at Spa-Francorchamps to maybe get two in a row. They can be like double-decker buses. You wait a whole season for your first, and then the next one is right behind it. There was Max Defourny's getaway, judged to be illegal, way ahead of everybody else. And immediately he went into the lead. Lando Norris second on the road at this point, as Will Palmer slotted into third, heading through Eau Rouge for the first time. And then the three Tech 1 cars were right together. Hugo Datalia, though, at the back of the pack, if you like. And then he started to make waves. I think he judged this situation very nicely indeed, as Will Palmer clashed with Lando Norris. Palmer rejoining, but then soon to retire. An off-track moment for Bruno Baptista through Fagnes corner. And now that was a spin we didn't see first time around for one of the SMP racing cars. Robert Schwartzman going straight on at Les Cons, we think, as a result of a clash with Harrison Scott. That's going to be looked at. And Harrison Scott with damage at that point. He then came to a halt around about here on the chicane, and Harrison Scott retired to the pit lane. There was side-by-side action between Alessandro Perullo and Bruno Baptista. Baptista, we thought for a moment, had clonked the concrete wall. Perullo wobbling his rear right suspension there, realising that certainly a large portion of that wishbone had been damaged. Nikita Troitsky with a great move on Jahan Daruvala into Les Cons corner there. And this was the moment the top three headed over the line. Lando Norris, one final stab at trying to get second position away from Dorian Boccolacci. He ran out of opportunity in the end, though, and Tech 1 Racing take a victory with Hugo Datalia ahead of their teammate Dorian Boccolacci. And let's not forget Sasha Fenestraz in fourth position, just behind Lando Norris. And Lando can seal the title tomorrow in the next round of the Eurocup Formula Renault 2 litre. Another 25 points on offer, And will it be Lando Norris to take that victory? So these trophies are being presented. That's for the rookie podium. And Lando Norris finished top rookie, of course. So well done to him. And here is how the championship looks. We've not added the 15 points on for Lando Norris. We see that will take him to 217, of course. And a lot of these points, I'm afraid, are not quite right. But 217, which gives him a 54.5 point lead, according to Graham Goodwin's mathematics.
Not always the most perfect.
And only GG's mathematics.
I think it's reasonably. What we're looking for now is what happens in race 2.
Yeah.
That could be a championship decider at this point.
Absolutely.
And that is the change that's happened with this result. Is